Hi everyone, this is Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a super fun beading tutorial for you. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss any of our content. In this video, I'll show you how to make these pretty festive but quite easy to do earrings. They are Mardi Gras themed. They have the right colors, they have some fringe, and they're quite lightweight, so very comfortable to dance with, for example. So I think they check all the relevant boxes. So let me tell you a little bit about the supplies you need to make them. First and foremost, you're gonna need this sort of base. This is connector frame sort of thing that you can use in many different ways. I like it the most for brick stitch, just like in here, and for putting stuff inside of it, like beaded bits that you can put inside, just like we're going to be doing here. So you need 2 of these for a pair of earrings. You're obviously going to need some earring findings. I'm going to be using these lever back earring findings. You can use any findings that you want. I chose these because when you're dancing or just prancing around, you want your earrings to stay on. So this one closes, so it will definitely stay on all night and you won't lose your earrings. Now to attach it to my earring, I'm also going to need a little jump ring. I already pre-opened it. It's a thin one because I'm also going to use a little 8/0 bead to attach the earring to the jump ring. And I really like this way of attaching it because it looks kind of elegant with the 8/0. But you can just as well use your demi rounds or your 11/0s, which, by the way, you're also going to need. So here I'll be using Tohos, and I have Toho round 11/0s and Toho demi round 11/0s. So these are like half the thickness of the regular ones. And that's all of the seed beads that you're going to need, actually, because then there are crystals. I'm going to be using 3mm crystals, and feel free to use Elite Eureka crystals or Pretiosa crystals or even Krakowski crystals. And when it comes to Krakowski, I'll be using these oval faceted crystals in this lovely kind of emerald teal sort of color. And the shape is just perfect to make a nice little dangle, some little fringe. Then we have some check glass, and we're going to be using some SuperDuos for the pattern inside the frame, and some 4mm round drag beads for the fringe. Now when it comes to the fringe, you can shape yours in any way you want, so when the time comes to add the fringe, you can do whatever you want. Alright, in addition to all of that, we're going to need a needle. I'll be using size 12, and some thread, and for this one I'll be using 1G and not my beloved Fireline, because for this one 1G is better because you can color match it to your frame. This is Sand Ash, I believe, and it really doesn't show all that much. You can still see it because, well, it goes around the frame, but it's not so prominent, and it's more flexible and makes the fringe kind of more flowy. So I do recommend you use 1G or Nymo for this sort of thing. All right, let's start beading. Okay, I'm starting with about half a wingspan of thread on my needle. I'm not going to cut off the thread from the spool just yet because I'm going to use the tail end to add on the fringe so that I don't have to add on thread as I go. This is why I'm going to start. This is going to be my bottom of the work, and I'm going to go inside the frame and basically just tie a few knots on that thread here. So I'm just using my working thread to tie knots, and I'm gonna tie 2 of them just to keep it sort of secure. We're going to secure it further along the way. 2 knots will be absolutely fine for now. And I want to put that thread somewhere around here. This is where we start, and the first thing we're gonna do is add 11/0s around the frame, just so it's a little bit easier to put that middle thing in there. So I start with picking up 2 11/0s, and I'm gonna go inside that frame and hold it with my finger or my fingernail in this case. I'm going to make sure that they don't go inside the frame, those beads, and I'm going to go up through that second bead that I added, so up towards that first one. And we want them to stand up on that frame here. Don't worry about that first one, it's going to straighten up in a minute. So this is what we want, and now we're adding a single 11-0. It's just regular brick stitch. You just need to make sure that your bead doesn't go inside the frame. So I'm holding it, I'm holding onto it with my finger. And if you want, you can just go right back through it right away here. There, and you just stand it up on that frame. And you basically do it all around. And what I do in those corners in here is I just add an extra 11-0 in between the beads. So I pick up two, but go through just one so that we have these corners here instead of just thread showing. Which is not bad, you can have thread showing, but I do like to emphasize those corners. Alright, so here's a corner, and I just picked up an extra 11-0 up there, so 2 in total. And I go through the frame like I did the entire time, but I'm just gonna go through the first of the 2, which is gonna make the other one just kind of pop there in the corner. So that's what I do in those 2 corners here. And here I'll add the 8-0. Now I reached the top of my earring over here, so I'll be adding my 8-0 and then an 11-0 there. Another thing you could do is you could straight up pick up your earring finding and attach it in here. You could use some demi rounds to attach it on the sides as well. The reason why I'm not gonna do it is because I like to be able to exchange my earring finding if for some reason I don't like it, or if it gets dirty, or if it gets broken. I like to be able to exchange it, and if I attach it like right here straight up, I won't be able to do that. So I prefer to add a little jump ring and be able to exchange my earring finding wherever I want to. So I just added my 8-0, and I need to reinforce it as well. So I'm just gonna go back through it, back through the previous 11-0 on the frame, and through that frame as well, because I'm coming in from the back. I'm going in back through that top bead on the right, and through the 8-0 again. And as if I was adding that 11-0 anew, I'm going through it, through that frame, and back through the 11-0. And in this way, the 8-0 has 3 threads in it, and it's gonna be a lot more sturdy than if you just added it without any reinforcement. Okay guys, I'll be adding my last corner bead and my last 11-0 to go right next to that first one that I added here. So it's gonna go on the bottom side of the triangle. Just like that. I'm going to connect it with the first one now. Just as if I was first adding it. Back up. Right, and so the first part is done. Now let's get on to that center of that triangle here. First things first, let's attach the SuperDuos, and we're gonna do that coming out of the 3rd bead here, which makes us in the perfect position to go right back this next bead towards the center of this side. So 1, 2, 3, the 3rd one. And that's where the inner hole of the SuperDuos will be. And we'll start with an 11-0, and then we're going to add 5 purple SuperDuos with demi rounds in between them, and finishing on an 11-0 as well. And I'll attach it here by going under that frame here. So I'm not going into any beads, I'm just going under this frame around the third bead. So before the thread that goes into that third bead on this side. So I'm just going back like this. And I'm gonna turn my work over. This is where I'm at. And I'm gonna go through all of those beads again. So I'm just turning over, I'm hooking these beads onto that frame and going back through all of them. I look at where my original thread is coming out of, and it's coming out in the front here. So I'm gonna go from the back, I'm in the back currently. And after the second before the third bead on this bottom row, 1, 2, 3, I'm just gonna go from the front to the back, so that each of those last beads is attached to the frame on both sides. Now I'm gonna go back up, but only through the 11-0 and the first SuperDuo. And I'm gonna turn back on that SuperDuo and go through the free hole. Now it's a good moment to attach this SuperDuo to the frame after the third bead. 1, 2, 3. So I'm attaching it to the side of the frame, right over here. I'm turning the work over and going right back through that same hole from the same direction, just like that. I'm gonna go to the front just because I want to turn it back front to camera. There, and it's attached. Now I'm gonna add a 3mm bicone in between each of the SuperDuos. They should pop right in. And after that last one, I'm gonna do the very same thing. Wherever you see that your thread is coming out of, that's where you want to attach it to the frame. And I'm gonna go back again through the second hole of that SuperDuo, attaching it to the frame. I'm gonna go through the bicone as well, because I want to add some gold embellishments in the middle. So that's what I'll do, and I'll add a demi-round, an 11-0 and a demi-round. And they're gonna create this sort of a triangle on top of the SuperDuo, because I'm going to pass through the next 3mm bicone, pull everything tight. You get this little embellishment. Another one here in the middle. Again, demi, 11-0 demi, through the next bicone. And one more. Now I really want to go back again to the middle to add this extra bicone in here to also stabilize the entire structure. So I'm just gonna go right around through the SuperDuo again, around the frame, and back through it. I'm going back the same route. Until I reach that middle embellishment, that middle 3. And I just put on some beads. I'll see what fits there. This is what should fit. So demi, 3mm bicone, a demi. Let's see. Yeah, that should be perfect. So I just pick up these 3. And very simply, I go over the frame on top. Gonna be easier if I turn over my work and go through those beads from the back, attaching them to the frame. I need to go through that top bead from the other side to place that last embellishment in the middle. And that's basically it when it comes to this internal part of the design. Now let me just finish this end of my thread and cut off a big enough piece from my spool to add the fringe. So the way I finish the tail thread is I just go through some more beads, so through the demi-round in here and through the bicone. I'll tie a knot and hide my tail thread. Alright, I put on more than half a wingspan of thread on my needle to make sure that I have enough for all of the fringe. And my thread is coming out of a knot that I made in the very beginning, somewhere in between these beads here. So I'm in a perfect spot to start the fringe, and the way you figure out where you want it to be, if you want it to be like mine here, is you first off need to figure out where the middle is for the middle fringe to be placed on. And we're going to have a total of 5 pieces of fringe because there's 10 of these dangly crystal bits in a package, so 5 per earring. And incidentally, I have 11 11-ohs on this bottom side of my triangle, so the 6th one is going to be exact middle one here. So this is the middle, and I'm gonna do every second. So I'm gonna do one here and then one here, which is perfect because it's exactly where I am. So I wanna go in that bead that's gonna have my fringe. Alright, and now is where you can do whatever you want with that fringe. I'm gonna start because I really like this length here. So I'm gonna start with a dozen 11-ohs, then my round drag bead, 3 more 11-ohs, and then my dangly crystal oval. So here's my dozen 11-ohs, then my 4mm round drag bead, 3 more 11-ohs, my crystal oval, and I'm gonna finish with 3 demi-rounds because I just like the way they look. You can just add one, you can add as many as you want. You can finish this with 15-ohs as well. There we go. I'm now going to go all the way back except for the first 3 demi-rounds, so I'm skipping these. And I'm going through all of the other beads. And for this first one, if you're using a long needle, you should be able to pass through all of them at once, because the entire needle fits inside that sequence of beads. I'm just making sure everything is nice and tight. And then I go through that bead that my thread was going out of. I'm gonna go through the next bead in here, but I don't want to put my next fringe in there, so I'll just go through the next one, and I'm gonna go behind that frame and inside of it so that I can go right back through the very same bead to add my fringe. Now I want the next one to be longer, so I'm gonna add 5 more, so 17 11-ohs to start with in total. Then a drag bead, 3 11-ohs, my crystal oval, and 3 demi-rounds. And this time it's not that easy, so I'm gonna have to go out in the middle of my fringe to proceed with getting back through it. Through the next bead, but I don't want to add fringe here. So back up through the next one and through the frame and back for the middle fringe. Now 5 more, so 22 11-ohs in total for this one. I'm gonna do the 4th one the way I did the second one, so starting with 17. In the last one, I'll do like the first one, so I'm starting with a dozen of 11s. Alright, now it would make sense to finish off the thread, and I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So I'm coming out of, my thread is coming out of this second bead on the bottom here. I'm just gonna go in between the beads towards the back and kinda go right up, because why not? It's easier to hide the thread in an aesthetic way in between the beads, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to tie a knot, a little one, over on the thread in here. And I'm gonna weave in the tail, hiding my tail thread in between the SuperDuos. Now I just need to put on my jump ring and my earring finding, for which I am going to be using some pliers. So this is our 2025 Mardi Gras beaded project. I hope you enjoyed making these earrings. Let us know if you made them. All of the supplies are available from eurekacrystalbeads.com, of course. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!